welcome back to my channel. My name is Sydney Morgan, and today I have a new case for you guys. Today's case is going to be about Richard Kuklinski, also known as the Iceman. Now, there was a movie that came out in 2012 about Richard Kuklinski called The Iceman, and in that movie, Michael Shannon did such an amazing job playing the role of Richard Kuklinski, but there were so many other actors in that movie. James Franco played in it, Ray Liotta played in it, Chris Evans, Winona Ryder. There were so many people in that movie, and they did an amazing job. When you know the story, and if you watch the interviews with the real Richard Kuklinski, and you see Michael Shannon's portrayal of him, my God, he was perfect for that role, and they did an amazing job. I feel like that movie is definitely underrated, but it was one of my favorites. He did so good. Richard Kuklinski was an American hitman. He confessed to between 1 to 200 different kills. He was known as the Iceman because he was so clever with not getting caught for his hits that he would kill somebody, freeze their body, and then dump it somewhere to thaw out. The medical examiners who would find these bodies would be thrown off because of the fact that he froze them, so that would stop the decomposition of the bodies, and so they never knew what the time of death was. We're going to go back and we're going to talk about his early life. Before we get into this video, I would like to tell you that I love making true crime videos. So if you like my videos, you like my content, make sure you give it a thumbs up and you hit the subscribe button so you know when I post new videos. I post anywhere from 2 to 3 to 4 times a week. It just depends on what I have going on. But I also wanted to let you know that I am a small business owner and I make handmade custom jewelry like earrings, necklaces, all kinds of fun stuff. But I also make soy wax melts. My top selling soy wax melts are these little balls. Just a warning though, I do name most of my soy wax melts inappropriate names. My top sellers are Flamingo Farts, Unicorn Tits, and my Slutty Mermaid. I just added not too long ago one called You Dirty Beach. Those are my fruity scents. I did just drop my fall scents a few weeks ago. There's Candy Poison Apple, Cranberry Apple Marmalade, and Pumpkin Patch. Soon I will be making my winter scents. So the links for my site will be in the description below. Go check them out. Richard was born April 11th, 1935 in Jersey City to Anna and Stanley Kuklinski. Now, his father worked as a brakeman for the local railroads, and his mother worked at a meat processing plant. His father, Stanley, was an alcoholic, and he was one of those men that think it's okay to beat your wife and your children. He had an older brother named Florin, and then he had 2 younger siblings. But one day when Stanley was doing his normal rounds of beating his wife and children, he actually beat Florin to death. And Stanley had his wife Anna call the police and report that Florin fell down the stairs and hit his head, and that is why he died. His mother, Anna, was also really strict. She was a devout Catholic. Later in interviews, he would quote, "I didn't like my father because he would beat me just because he felt like it. He would think nothing of coming in and smacking you. He would come in and give you whoopings for no reason whatsoever." Shortly after his father beat his older brother to death, he actually abandoned the family. He left. Then he was left to live with his mother, who was also a crazy bitch. He would say that she was abusive as well. She would break a broomstick over Richard by beating him with it. Around the age of 16, Richard was actually bullied really bad. Around that time, he started to learn that if you beat them, if you beat the bullies first, then they really won't mess with you. In interviews, he would quote, "Good guys really do finish last." I do get that to an extent because I was bullied as a kid, and the only way that I found to get out of that was to try to defend myself. And once I was able to defend myself, then they really didn't mess with me that much. Cool. But Richard took that to like a whole new level. like a no-no, you don't do that kind of level, because one day, 6 of Richard's bullies showed up out front of his house, and he actually took the bar to the clothing rack downstairs and just went ape shit. And he started beating all of his bullies. I would have too, though. If you're bullying me and I've had enough of it, I'll probably beat the crap out of you with a pipe too. But I've never murdered anybody, so it's a completely different story. So after he beat all of his bullies, he would say that it was better to give the beating than to receive the beating. Makes sense. His first murder actually took place in 1948 when he was just 13 years old. One of his bullies had pushed him too far to the edge. That bully's name was Charlie Lane. Charlie Lane had really beaten the shit out of them. It was a bad situation. He actually grabbed something wooden and he beat Charlie to death. He'd claimed that he didn't mean to, it wasn't on purpose, but after that he took a hatchet and he chopped off Charlie's fingertips and busted out his teeth. And then he dumped his body off of the South Jersey Bridge. Now that's what he claims he did, but Charlie's body was actually never found. And after killing Charlie, he would take a metal pipe from a trash bin and he would go find the other boys that bullied him, and he beat all of them to near death. He didn't kill any of them, but he beat the crap out of these kids. At the age of 18, Richard got into a bar fight and he grabbed a pool cue and beat a guy to death. With this death, he would say that he actually felt really bad. He didn't mean to kill the guy, he just wanted to beat the crap out of him because he made him feel crappy, so that was his way of getting back at him. But he also said that even though he felt really sad about killing this guy with the pool cue, that sadness turned into a rush of feeling power. So that's not healthy. In 1960, he met his soon-to-be wife, Barbara. And Barbara would say that he was like the man of her dreams. He was considerate, he was romantic, he brought her flowers, he bought her nice things. He just all around spoiled Barbara. She loved it. Right? That's what all women want. They want a nice, considerate man who brings them flowers and is romantic. But she had no idea who Richard actually was. They would go on to have 3 children of their own. And because of the fact that Richard only had an 8th grade education, he was not able to get any decent job to provide a nice life for his family. And he absolutely refused to work some crappy minimum wage job. So not wanting to work for a minimum wage job, he started working for an illegal porn lab for the Gambino crime family. And Richard was huge. Huge. He was like 6'5", and he was bulky too. But he had this natural, just intimidation to him. So from there, he moves from working the porn lab on up to being a hitman. He started working as a hitman for a gang in Brooklyn at the Gemini Lounge. The Gemini Lounge was known for, if people didn't pay the money that they owed this gang, they would be taken to the upstairs of the Gemini Lounge, and that's where they would be executed, dismembered, put in plastic bags, and they would dispose of those bodies. And the whole time that he's this hitman, he's making really good money. People would not expect this by looking at him. Sure, he was a big, intimidating guy. Usually hitmen are motivated by drinking or drugs or gambling or paying off their own debts to these gangs. That was not Richard. The only motivation that Richard had to kill all these hundreds of people was for his own greed. It was for money. He just wanted to provide everything and anything that he could to his wife and his 3 children because he wanted them to have a very luxurious life. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to some of the details of his kills that he can remember. Richard would claim while he did his murders, he didn't feel anything. He would quote, "No murders ever haunted me. I just don't think about it. I don't think about it because if I thought about it, then that would hurt me." But Richard also had a very strict rule. His rule with hits were no women and no children. He only killed men. Richard was known to always carry around 3 guns and a knife. His methods of kill involved shooting them, strangling them, stabbing them, or poisoning them. He says that with one of his kills that he had committed, he followed this guy in his car, and as soon as they stopped at a red light, he pulled up next to him, pulled out a shotgun, and shot the guy in the head. Richard would say that this kill surprised him. He knew that this shotgun was going to kill him when he shot him in the face, but he said that it literally blew his head off. He said that shocked him. He didn't expect his head to explode like that. Which, if you're almost point blank with a shotgun, that's something that you should probably expect. But even this one shocked him. And after he told the interviewers about this kill, he ended it with a quote of, "He never saw the green light." But yeah, he never saw any light because you shot his face off. Richard is highly known for his use of cyanide. He was like a master when it came to cyanide poisoning. Cyanide is so deadly that they actually put it into a gas form, and that's what they would use in gas chambers. Hitmen or killers would use it because it's really hard to detect unless you are specifically looking for cyanide. He would say that it was so easy that you could take cyanide, put it in a drink, walk around the bar, pretend like you're just super drunk and clumsy, and spill it on your hits, the guy you're going to murder, and then play it off like you were just drunk and walk away. And when you walked away, this cyanide that was dumped on him would soak through his clothes, soak into his pores, and he would eventually hit the ground and die. Meanwhile, giving Richard the time to just walk straight out the door like nothing ever happened. He would say that he would schedule dinners with some of his hits, and when that man went to get up and go to the bathroom, he'd put a little bit on that man's food, and when the man came back, he'd eat it, and then something would happen. He'd hit the ground. They'd think he's having a heart attack or something, and they would take him off to the hospital where he'd later die. He claims he did that multiple times, where he put it in people's food. When he was later asked by interviewers how he would get rid of the bodies, he would laugh and say, "Well, it depends on how I wanted to get rid of the bodies. Do I want them to be found? Do I not want them to be found?" He says that it was so easy that he would walk up, shoot them while they're sitting in a park bench, and he'd claim, "I know that they found multiple people shot at park benches. It was that easy." He would say that he would take some of his kills, put them in the trunk of a car, take that car, and go have it crushed down to nothing. Boom. It's going to be a long time before you ever find that body, if you ever find that body. Richard would say that some of his hits were not so smart. He would say that one time he was going up to the apartment door of one of his hits, and the guy must not have realized that even though there's a door in front of you, if you're standing at that door to see who is coming to visit you, if there's a light behind you, it's going to cast that shadow, and that shadow would lead Richard to believe that obviously he's standing right there. So as soon as this guy put his eye up to the peephole through the window, he shot him in the head. He's claimed, boom, he never saw it coming, and he just walked away. He'd actually say that he felt bad because it was a really nice door. It was a really expensive door. In one interview, Mr. Kuklinski was asked if he ever used something crazy like a chainsaw, and he would say, "Oh yeah, not to kill them, but to dismember them. Oh yeah." And when he was asked how he felt about that, he would say, as he's always said, I felt nothing. that's the way it had to be. Now, sometimes he would get crazy requests from his boss. And one time he said that somebody wanted a guy's tongue cut out and put in his back door. So he did it. He did it. Yeah, he cut this guy's tongue out and he stuck it in his butt. He said that there was just a point that that man wanted to get across. And for the next kill I'm going to talk about, I'm actually going to refer back to the movie because this was one of them kills that they did put in the movie. This is where James Franco came into play. He claims that the man started begging for his life, begging and praying to God that Richard would not kill him. And so Richard would actually claim that he was kind of embarrassed and that this was just absolutely cruel even for him. But he said, okay, you beg to your God to come down here and stop me from killing you today, and we'll see what happens. So this man continues to beg for his life and nothing happens. So Richard actually shoots and kills him. But he would claim later that he shouldn't have done that one. He shouldn't have done it that way, that was a little crude. So now by the 1970s, Richard's actually, he's coming across some real money because he's got lots of hits from this gang. And he claims that he would not take less than $5,000. And he was hoping for more than that. And he was becoming super wealthy off of all of these hits that he was performing. I'm just going to say, if I'm going to kill somebody, it sure as hell is not going to be for no $5,000. That's crazy. You got to live with that on your conscience and you're just going to like, $5,000? Oh, yep, I'll kill that guy for you. No, no, no. Barbara, his wife, would claim that they were the perfect family. His life was amazing. He was wealthy. He claimed that he was a businessman so that he could keep everybody out of the dirty deeds he was doing. And she said that the kids were perfectly well behaved. They never, ever, ever would have expected that this was what he was actually doing to create all this wealth and this happy life that they were living. Richard never wanted to leave the house. He always wanted to be there. If he could be home all the time and never have to go to work, that's exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to show his children and his wife the good in life, not the bad. He wanted to shelter them from anything that could possibly be bad. She would say that she knew that he was abused as a child because he would bring up certain things from his childhood and then he would just drop them. He wouldn't talk about it anymore. She says that the first Christmas that he went to her family's home, that he was in awe. He had no idea that this is what family was like because he had never felt love. He would say that his life was like a complete Jekyll and Hyde situation. This is, on one side of it, you had this is what it was. He's a murderer who gives his family a good life. And on the other side, it was, he was a family man. He was living such a separate life that nobody knew anything about. He would claim that he wanted one life, but really it was two complete separate lives. So eventually, Richard Kuklinski, he's the big top dog of his own crime ring. He started doing like these fake business deals. In 1982, there was a man named Paul Hoffman, and he was trying to do one of these business deals with Mr. Kuklinski. So he shows up at his warehouse, and he's a pharmacist. So he thinks that Richard has his hands on the drug that he's looking for a good price, and he's trying to cut a profit. When Paul showed up to Richard's warehouse, he had like $25,000 in cash, and I said he was trying to take this $25,000 and flip it into a huge profit. But then he came up against Mr. Richard Kuklinski. And Kuklinski was looking for any and every way to not have to earn his money the right way. So he was going to kill Paul and take his money. So Paul opens this big bag of money and he shows Richard. He's like, look at all this cash I got. Where's my merchandise? So he puts the gun under Paul's chin and he says there is no merchandise, and he pulls the trigger. But unfortunately, something went wrong. The gun kind of jammed, and he didn't die. Richard would say that he sat there gurgling blood. He could tell he was in pain. So he picked up a tire iron and he beat him with it until he died. So after he kills Paul, he puts him in a 55-gallon drum and he sets it outside of this corner store that he goes to every day. So he keeps going and looking to see if this drum is still there containing Paul's body, and it is for a long time. And he says that he just keeps going in and going in and going in, trying to get intel, and one day the drum is just gone, which means the body's gone. He said he never even knew what happened to that body. So by the time that he's getting up there in age, he's almost in his 50s, and he's getting tired of the game, so he starts making mistakes. If he catches wind that somebody is trying to testify that he's the killer, he just went and killed them. He knocked them out. So one day, a guy named Gary Smith was found underneath of a hotel bed in Jersey. His cause of death was that he was given cyanide and then strangled to death. So Smith's body sits there under this bed, and nobody even knew it was there. Nobody knew that there was a decomposing body under the bed. There were like up to 20 people that used that room and were in and out of that room in that 5-day time period. And medical examiners would go on to say that it would have never even been marked as a homicide if it weren't for the strangulation marks on his neck. So on September 25th, 1983, police found the body of a man named Louis Masgay. This would be one of the crucial mistakes that actually leads to Richard Kuklinski getting caught. This would actually be the murder that earned him the name The Iceman. Richard kills Louis, and he put him in an industrial-sized freezer for 2 years. Richard leaves his body in the freezer for 2 years, and then he finally decides that he's going to dump the body. He screwed up because when he dumped the body, he put it in a place that it was easily found, and it was a hot summer day. When they found his body, he didn't thaw out all the way, so when they took him to the medical examiner's office, the medical examiner cuts him open to see that there is still ice inside of him. And obviously this medical examiner's like, what the fuck's going on? It's hot out. How's this guy frozen? After this, 5 different bodies show up, and the only link that all 5 of these men had together was that they were business associates of Richard Kuklinski. In 1986, the police were on his ass, and so they decided to send in an undercover cop to try to gain the trust of Richard so that they could get some confessions and start busting him for all these murders. This undercover cop claimed that he was also a hitman, so he would regularly meet up with this undercover cop, and he would start telling this cop ways to kill people without being detected. He started telling him about the cyanide and about the freezings and how he was getting away with all of these murders. So eventually, he's gonna get caught. On December 17th, 1986, the police decided that they had all the evidence that they needed to arrest Richard, so they set up roadblocks on his street, and it took multiple cops to bring this guy down. They told him to come out of the car. He wouldn't get out of the car, so they pulled him out of the car, and it took multiple cops to take him down to the ground so that they get handcuffs on him. Richard would go to court. They had him on 5 murders, and he was found guilty of all 5 of those murders. We all know that he did way more than that. He was set to testify against a member of the Gambino crime family, but in 2006, shortly before he was supposed to testify, he was actually found dead, and they always claimed it to be a very suspicious death. Richard liked to do a lot of interviews. I'm actually going to link one below so that you can go check that out. It's crazy. Just the calmness in his voice. He is a psychopath. I'm pretty sure that his children nor his wife like really ever talked to him again. The medical examiner declared that he died of natural causes, but at the same time there was also evidence of poisoning. So something didn't add up right. And really there was like no proper closure of Richard's death. So sad story. Lots of murder. I hope you guys enjoyed the video that I had for you today. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe. I hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you later. Bye.